My name is Iman Aghay, and I'm the founder of Success Road Academy. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a best-selling author, a public speaker, and a husband. Over the past few years, we have helped thousands of entrepreneurs to share their message and knowledge with the world, make a massive positive impact in their lives and other people's lives and the environment, and build a successful business for themselves. I started this journey of inspiring people to go after their dream and build a business that serves their life purpose back in 2008, when I was looking at people like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Oprah, and I was looking at them on how they inspire and empower people, how they are sharing their knowledge and message with the world, how they get people excited to live their dream, and then they help them to actually make it happen. And I was looking at them and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to become an international professional public speaker. I want to travel the world. I want to get on big stages and inspire people to make a massive difference in their lives. And back then I was in Iran. I couldn't speak English properly. And I knew that if I want to become an international professional public speaker, I need to get to an environment where I can speak English properly, I can have a passport that I can easily travel with, and I needed a place that I could grow easier in. And so in 2008, we decided to move to Canada, and we moved to Canada in 2009. And when I landed in Canada, I was hoping that my money will follow me. I had a couple of properties in Iran, and my mom was going to sell them, send the money to us, and that never actually happened. I realized that I'm not going to get my money, and we had a few $1,000s in our pocket when we came here, but we had a big dream, and we said we are going to do whatever it takes. So I started writing up a resume and started applying for any jobs. And with my level of English back then, I could only apply for survival jobs, for being a cleaner, being a cashier, being, I don't know, anyone who can carry anything or help anyone, right? And I started dropping off my resume at one place after the next, after the next, after the next. But 2009 was right after 2008 recession. And there were thousands of people who were out of job. They were highly qualified people. They had family and friends and network and connections, and we had none of those. So every day I was applying for one job after another, dropping off tens of resumes every day at any job I could. And not a single person got back to me. Every day, kind of the bank account got smaller and smaller and smaller. And one day I went home and opened the mailbox, and there was this bill. This was the last bill that anybody wanted to receive, right? We all had that bill, the last bill that you want to receive in your life. And I took it out of the mailbox and went to pay it. I realized we have only $2,500 left in our bank account. Now, $2,500 might not sound not a lot of money, but the significance of it for us was that it was the price of buying two one-way tickets to go back to Iran and give up on our dream. And I couldn't make that decision on my own. I was like, okay, so we have two things here. We can either pay this bill and pay the rent and buy us some food, and we will have 30 days. And if we can't find a job in the next 30 days, we're going to become homeless. We're not going to have the rent, we're not going to have money for anything, we're not going to have money for buying even food. And the other option is to buy two one-way tickets back to Iran and go back and give up on our dream. So since I couldn't make that decision on my own, I went to my wife and I said, honey, this is the situation. This is what we have left. What should we do? And what she said next changed everything in our life. She said, Iman, have we ever given up on any of our dreams? I said, no. She said, why would we give up on our dream now? Pay the bill, pay the rent, we get some food, and we'll do whatever it takes to bring our dream to reality. And you know, when you have a person who believes in you more than you ever can believe in yourself. And that was what my wife did for me. And she didn't just say, I believe in you. She stood beside me and said, I'm willing to become homeless to bring your dream to reality. So that's what we did. We paid the rent, we paid the bill, bought some food, and the countdown to become homeless started. 30 days, 29 days, 28 days, 27 days. I went all the way down to 17 days away from becoming homeless. And that morning I realized, you know, I am doing the exact definition of insanity. I'm doing the same thing over and over, and I'm expecting a different result. And that morning I realized, if I don't own my own greatness, and if I don't stand up, and if I don't take action and save myself, nobody is going to do that. And that morning I realized that I should get over my insecurities around not being able to speak English properly. I should get over my insecurities around not having a network or connection. I should get out there, and I should build my own business. That morning I got this attitude that if you don't give it to me, I'll build it myself. And that was the greatest attitude that I learned. And there's always saying that if something doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And I think that experience of coming to Canada and going through all of that situation and getting almost to become homeless served me with getting this attitude that if you don't give it to me, I'll build it myself. I was looking for something that I can create that can give me real fast clients. And I said, well, the first thing that people need, the entrepreneurs need, is having a website that can increase their sales, and I understand online marketing. So I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build a web design and SEO company. At that point, I actually hadn't gotten a haircut for some time because paying for a haircut was a lot of money and just didn't want to spend the money. But that morning I said, okay, I need to go get a haircut. So I came out and I started walking on the street and I started looking at the prices of the different haircut places. I didn't have a hairdresser. And I found this place that had a very cheap haircut. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. That's like my price. So I walked in and there was this guy from Lebanon that was a hairdresser, and he came and said, okay, sit down. I started sitting and I sat down, and the first thing that the hairdresser asks you is, what do you do, right? Well, that's technically the second question, because their first question is that, who cut your hair last time? And then their second question is, so what do you do? And I said, I help people to increase their sales from internet. And he looked at me and said, like, how do you do that? I had no answer. I didn't know. I just got started. Like, I literally had started a couple of minutes ago thinking about I want a web design company, and then this guy is asking me, how do you do that? And I had no idea. But I'm like, okay, you know what? When you are done with my hair, then I'm going to answer you. We're going to go to the edge here. I'm going to answer you there, because it's hard for me to explain while you're cutting my hair. And technically, all I needed is just 20 minutes to think. Like, that's all the time I could buy for myself at the time. So he started cutting my hair, and I was thinking about, okay, so how should I do this, right? And I knew the technicality of it, but I'd never had a conversation with a potential client to that point. So we finished my haircut. We went to the cashier. I paid him, and I said, do you have a pen and paper? He gave me a pen and paper, and I started interviewing him as if he was an actual customer who had paid me money to design him a website. So I asked him about different things, about his business, what's his bread and butter in the business, how people choose him over everybody else. As he was telling me about all of these things, I started drawing his website on a piece of paper, a website that I knew is going to increase his sales. And within 15 minutes after I finished my interview with him, I turned back the paper and I said, if you design this website, it's going to increase your sales. He looked at the paper and looked at me and said, Iman, you don't know me, but I'm one of the most connected people in this town. I go to networking events and I know a lot of online marketers. And you are the first ever person who could explain to me how this can actually work. I was very happy. I was like, wow, he's gonna buy a website from me right now. And he didn't. He was like, okay, thank you very much, and bye-bye. I'm like, I was mad. I was like, what? So I was on the way back home. I was like, what did I do wrong? How could I do it better? Like all of these things. And then 14 days away from becoming homeless, which was day 3 of my business, the same hairdresser called me on my cell phone. I said, Iman, I am sitting with a person who has been wanting to increase her sales from the internet for the past few years, and not a single person has been able to help her. Do you have time to sit with her and talk to her? I said, yeah, I'm actually home and doing nothing. I can totally walk to your place. So and he said, well, you actually let me ask her, and she had time. She said, well, why don't we go to this coffee shop? So 5 minutes later, we were meeting at the coffee shop, and I did the exact same thing as I did with my hairdresser. I got a paper, started asking her what her business is, how we can increase her sales. And an hour later, she wrote me an $1,800 check. That check bought us another 30 days and bought us food and paid the rent. And I started working on her website, and I had really hard time building a website because I knew online marketing, but I didn't know coding. So I needed time to do marketing, and at the same time, I needed time to learn. So every day, I would go out around 8:30 a.m. I would go to an office. Technically, it was not an office. Everybody was calling it Iman's office, but it wasn't an office. It was actually a Blend's coffee shop, which is a franchise, a small franchise in Canada. So from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, I was at Blend's Coffee, and I would make appointments with people coming to me and see me, like 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. I would eat at the same place, and I would continue till 6 p.m. I would just have one meeting after the next with people. And then at 6 p.m., I would go to networking events because I needed time. I needed to get these people to have meetings with me, right? So I go to a networking event every day from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I would pass out my cards. I would sit with people. I would invite them to come have a conversation, have a coffee with me or whatever. And at that point, I'd actually also started Vancouver Business Network, which I realized, like when I started my business, that I don't want to be a new immigrant who can't speak English and have a web design company. I want to build a brand around my name. So I started Vancouver Business Network, and suddenly in a day, I became the founder of Vancouver Business Network, which gave me huge credibility. So that allowed me to also contact influencers, speakers, other people, and everybody wanted to meet the founder of Vancouver Business Network. So, which technically was just a meetup group, but I mean, like, it was a cool name, right? And I would go to these networking events from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and pass out cards and have set up appointments, meetings and stuff. Then 9 p.m. I would go home. I would eat till 10. and I would start learning web design. Go to YouTube and different websites, and I would study till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m., learning how to design websites, put it together for my first client and designing all of the things. And then I would sleep 3-4 hours, and then again back on the road from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and a networking event, and then again learning how to design. Well, I finished the work of that first client, and she needed the next level of what I was doing, so she paid me another $1,800 next month. At this point, I found another client who paid me $800 a month, and that was for search engine optimization services. So now I had some recurring income, I had some money that was coming in, and over the next 18 months, I continued the exact same way, and I built the company to 6 figures. I also started running Vancouver Business Network more often and getting myself on stages a little bit here and there, trading stages, talking to different people. And that allowed me to build the company, the web design company, much faster, much bigger. Things started getting slowly better. And one day in October 2010, I woke up, I was bleeding internally. And I was rushed to the hospital. And doctors realized that I've lost 60% of my blood. But they couldn't find the source of the bleeding. And they started connecting me to a bag of blood transfusion. And I said, unless we find the source of bleeding, we don't know if we can pump enough blood to your body, then your body is actually passing out. At that point, they didn't even know if I'm still bleeding or not. They just knew that I've lost 60% of my blood. And they said, because we can't stop the bleeding, because we can't find it, you may not see the next day. And this is 10 days before my 27th birthday. When that happened, I was lying down. Suddenly I realized I'm lying down on my deathbed. And I'm counting minutes or even seconds. And we don't know what we're looking at. As I was lying down on my deathbed, I was looking at my wife. I was thinking about what we went through together and where we are. And suddenly I started thinking about how people will think of me next day. How are people going to remember me tomorrow? I said, well, probably they're going to say Iman was a nice guy. And I fucking hated it. I was like, I don't want to die a nice guy. I don't want to die a web designer. I didn't come to this world to die as a nice guy. I wanted to impact the world. I wanted to make a massive positive impact in people's lives. I didn't want to be a nice guy who ends up to die as a web designer. I wanted to die as a leader. I wanted to die as a person who made an impact in the lives of not 1, not 10, not 100, not 100,000, but millions and millions of people. And the fear of dying a web designer and a nice guy was much greater than the fear of death. You know, a lot of people think that when a person is dying, they're afraid of dying, but they're not. I was afraid of the fact that I never lived. I said, if I ever survive my deathbed, if I come out of this, I will change everything. And they released me from the hospital the day before my 27th birthday. And that was the most amazing birthday gift. From that day, I saw every single day of my life as a gift. That day, that experience taught me that life can be really, really, really short. And it can end at any point, any time. I had never thought about it that way. I never thought about it that every morning that I wake up, this is a gift that I have. I may not see the end of the day. So when I was released from the hospital, I got super focused on becoming a great public speaker. I started joining Toastmaster clubs, not one, but 2 Toastmaster clubs, going to many different places, hired a speaking coach, started taking my English classes seriously. We stopped speaking in Farsi at home. We started speaking only English. And I went after it. And started talking as much as I could, and started web designing, doing all of the work. I kept my web design company because I needed the money. Because I was like, wow, I need the money, right? As I was building my business, as I was building my speaking career, and at the same time doing web design and stuff, obviously there were times that the website work would get a lot bigger, and we needed to spend more time there, and was doing things that I was not necessarily passionate about, but I had to do because I needed the money. And all of that was going until I decided to organize a large event. And that event was called Marketing Mastery Summit. And we decided to organize the event. I planned everything. I invited several speakers, started marketing this event one after another, like selling the tickets and everything. And till we got the day before the event. This was my first multi-speaker big event, 250 people at Vancouver Convention Center. And I was excited. I was excited to go and rock the stage and be in front of these people and have big names. And technically, I actually organized that event because nobody gave me the chance to speak in front of a big group. And they said, if you don't give it to me, I'll build it myself, right? So I planned everything. Where the day before the event, I started bleeding internally again. I went to my doctor. He looked at me. He's like, I can't allow you to go back out. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I can't let you leave the hospital. So I signed my life away at the hospital. Got in the car and got myself to my office. It was about 15 minutes away from the hospital. Sat in front of the camera and recorded a short video. I said, guys, I'm so sorry I can't be at my own event, but I have a medical emergency and I have to go back to the hospital. I wish you guys enjoy the event. I got to the hospital, they put me on a stretcher and they rushed me to the surgery room. Bam, I was under and I woke up at 11 p.m. the night before my big event. So I spent the next 2 days at the hospital when my biggest event of my life was happening. I missed my own event. I was again on my deathbed 1.5 years later on that night. I looked back, I was like, damn it. I did everything. First time, I started learning public speaking, I started doing all of the work, but I'm still a web designer. When do you want to learn? When do you want to learn? And I knew this time I'm going to get out of the hospital. I just knew it at my heart. And I needed closure. I need closure. Like, this can't happen to me. This can't happen every 1.5 years. I can't almost die. Like, we need to figure this out. They still couldn't find it. They still couldn't find the problem. But this time, when I came out of hospital, I dropped my SEO company and web design company. Like, I don't need this. I'm gonna make it as a coach. I found a medical center that could do a very unique test. I went and did this unique test, and within 3 minutes, they realized that I have a rare type of cancer called carcinoid. With a slow-growing tumor. It was in my mesentery tissue. And 3 days later, with the surgery, they took it out. So that damn tumor almost killed me twice. But I am so grateful to that tumor, because before that I wasn't even alive. I was alive, but I wasn't living. That cancer saved my life. I have a cut about 10 inch on my belly, and we call it the lifeline. Because that cut every single day reminds me that what it took for me to wake up to life. And what I had to go through to remember that's what life has to offer. In 2012, I ran the same event again, a little bit differently. I launched my first ever group coaching program. And 2013, I expanded that coaching business and started doing more public speaking. And by mid-2013, I was flying between different cities. And by mid-2014, I was doing about 200 live events a year. I'd made my dream come true. I became an international professional public speaker. I reached my dream. We had 15,000 people who were attending our events every year. I was making a huge, massive impact in their lives. They were coming to me every day, sending us letters and emails every day, saying how me and my company have made a huge difference in their lives. And at that point, I felt really fulfilled. I was also doing 200 live events a year. So I reached the dream, but I hated the dream. And one day I was in Toronto. We were setting up the room since 6 a.m. Toronto time, which is 3 a.m. my body time. And at 8 a.m., an hour before the event starts, I was on the stage. I was looking through my notes, and I needed a pen. And in my mind, I was thinking, I need a pen. I need a pen. And there was this box of pen right in front of me. And I looked at it and was like, oh, that's a box of pen. And again, my mind was like, I need a pen. I froze on the stage for 10 minutes. I realized I am extremely overworked, overwhelmed. Although I am making a huge impact on other people's lives, I'm not living a life true to my life purpose. That day I realized that I need to find a business model that not only gives me financial freedom and allows me to make a massive difference in other people's lives, but also a business model that allows me to have location freedom and time freedom. I did that event, and I went back to Vancouver, and I canceled 200 live events that day. Till I realized the best business model that we can use is to use online courses and webinars as the foundation of the marketing of the business. Not selling online courses, which is great, but using online courses and webinars as the foundation of the marketing of the business. So I started launching my first online course, and that went really well. It was called Marketing Mastery Formula. And it was not focused on one group of entrepreneurs, but we were attracting different group of people. I was helping them to build their businesses very successfully. And as I started getting success, I started having more financial freedom, more location freedom, more time freedom. And one day I looked back in mid-2015, I realized 100% of my business is online. A lot of things I'm teaching are the things I used to do, but not things that I do right now. And those things I used to do were what get me to the place that I didn't have any location freedom and time freedom. And I was like, why am I teaching you those things when right now I do something different? As a mentor, the job of a mentor is teaching people what they actually do, not teaching people what sounds good, but they don't do it themselves. So mid-2015, I chose to only teach people exactly what I do, because that's what defines a mentor. Mid-2015, I launched my online course creation course called Ultimate Course Formula. And since then, we have worked with thousands of entrepreneurs, teaching them 8-step strategy that enables them to create and launch online courses in less than 60 days. Later on, we launched our mastermind program, and I worked with people one-on-one in my mentorship programs. My mastermind members travel the world with me. We go to different events, different places, have a lot of fun, learn a lot from the things that happen in the business, and we help them and support them to build a successful business for themselves. Having balance in life is really overrated. Some people can do it really well, and good for them. But I learned I don't like balance. Every time I have balance in life, I am boring. Life is dull, and I don't like a dull life. So what we do is my wife and I work hard and play harder. So when I'm working, I work really, really hard. Sometimes I work from 6 a.m. till 3 a.m. next day. And next day I'm awake at 5 a.m. and I'm again at work. Maybe I take a nap here and there, and that's it. If work needs to be done, we get it done. One of the things within the team that people say is like, you probably can't work as hard as Iman does, and you can't keep up with him while he's working. And I love it, and it's just my passion. And lots of people look at me and are like, dude, you're gonna kill yourself. This is like so crazy. Like, why do you do that? And I'm like, because I don't feel it. It's not like I feel like I'm working. I am doing what I'm most passionate about. Like when I go and sit with people at 2 a.m. while we are hanging out on the marketers cruise, for example, and I help them to change something in their lives, and their eyes start shining. That shine in their eyes is my passion, is what I want to see every day. So I don't feel like I'm working. I'm changing people's lives, right? And I don't even feel tired at the point. If I feel ever tired, I go and rest, right? I don't overwork myself, but if I feel tired, I go and rest. But I just don't. When I'm within my element, I just am happy, right? At the same time, when we go on vacation, then we play hard. We visited 15 countries in 2018. And pretty much out of those 75 days that we were traveling, I checked my phone only 15 days of it. 60 days I had my phone off or was aside, and we were just enjoying our life. I have my systems, processes. I built the company to the level that can work on its own, and you know, and just kind of like that's where it comes to allow me to play as hard as I want, whenever I want, right? However, I tell you, within 40 days that I was on my trip, when I was going around Europe, I was driving actually in France, and I felt so useless. Because I was like, you know what? I'm having the fun of my life, and everybody looks at it and says like, you're living the dream, and this is the dream, right, on paper. But what's the impact of this trip in the world? And nothing. Like, I'm leaving no impact behind as a result of this, right? So I love to play hard, love to work hard, but sometimes if playing hard is going to make a negative impact in the world, or like not leave any impact, then there is no purpose to it. I want to do things that are a purpose to it, because otherwise, even if you're doing something that on paper looks amazing, the reality, like how I feel about it, it doesn't feel amazing to me. There are a few rules around success from my point of view, and one of them is that you should last enough to succeed. And what that means is that when you have a goal, you're gonna fail. Like, you're gonna work toward that goal, you're gonna fail, right? Now the next morning you can wake up, you can go after that goal again, you know, or you can give up. If you give up, you fail, and your failure is permanent. And if you continue working, then you will fail again. And if the next day you continue, one day you will fail at failing. And the day that you fail at failing, other people call it success, and you call it, this is interesting. I found a way that didn't suck as much as the other ways that I did it. And then you start improving that, and you learn the skills and make your environment better and everything, and you get there, and from your point of view is that what you deserve and what you had to do. And from other people's point of view, you're an inspiration and a huge success. And what you did, it just lasted enough to see your success. And if you believe that you're gonna be successful, you last enough to succeed. And if you don't believe they can be successful, you're gonna give up. So your belief on success is what brings your success to reality, because it supports you to stay around and fail and fail and fail until you fail at failing. My passion in life is helping entrepreneurs to build a business that serves their life purpose. And every day I have my team and all of my systems and strategies to help entrepreneurs to find their life purpose and build a business that serves their life purpose. And many times people say, Iman, what motivates you to do this? What inspires you to do this? Why do you spend so much time and energy to help people with their life purpose first before anything related to business strategy? And that's my passion. And I don't just say it's my passion just randomly. It actually goes back to my life story. It goes back to when I was growing up. When I was growing up, my dad was an entrepreneur, and he was a really, really good entrepreneur. He always worked hard. There were many days that I hadn't seen my dad for months, although we were living in the same home, because we would come back home after we went to bed, and he would leave home before we woke up. And every day I was thinking, this is way too much. You're working way too much. And when I became a teenager, I started questioning everything, right? So one day I went to my dad and I said, Dad, when do you want to stop this madness? This is like way too much work. You are working way too much and you have to stop doing this. I said, kid, as soon as you turn 18, I want to retire. So I'm just working hard right now because I'm building my legacy. When you're 18, and I was the youngest kid, I am the youngest kid, and he was like, the moment that you turn 18, I'm gonna retire, your mom and I are gonna buy an RV, and we're gonna start traveling the world. And I'm like, wow, I never knew that, that's awesome. And I was thinking, well, okay, by the time that my dad by the time I turn 18, my dad is 53. And he's working so hard to retire at 53. And there is nothing more amazing than that. What do you want better than that? Just retire at 53 and go enjoy the rest of your life. I was very happy for him. When I turned 15, my dad was diagnosed with a disease called ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And ALS is a disease that kills the patient within 3 to 5 years. No amount of money can save you. No cure for it. Or at the time that my dad had it, no cure for it. I don't know now. And when he turned 53, he passed away. He never retired. He never enjoyed his life. And he died with massive amount of regrets. And that and my story of ending up on my own deathbed right before my 27th birthday shaped my passion. I realized life can be really short, and you can die with massive amount of regrets if you don't take action now and if you don't build a business that serves your life purpose. And the biggest problem that entrepreneurs have is not knowing what their life purpose is. When I did my TEDx talk, I wanted to open my TEDx talk with this sentence: what I'm about to talk to you is more dangerous than cancer, diabetes, or any disease that has ever impacted people's lives. Because the problem I'm going to talk about stops people from living while they're alive. And well, they didn't let me put that in my TEDx talk. But in my understanding, that's the biggest thing that is impacting people's lives right now. So that's my passion, helping entrepreneurs to build a business that serves their life purpose, instead of building a business that you become the slave to it. And every day you have to do things that you hate in the hope that one day you will retire.